How many of you have never seen me before $6? So that's philosophy number one. Wait for the government to change the minimum wage. You say, well, that might take too long. Is there another philosophy? And the answer is yes. Okay. Here's the second philosophy. Wait for the company to pay you $6 an hour. Right? You get a review how often? Every 6 months, let's say. You missed it. You waited a year. Maybe you didn't make it then. You say, wow, no telling how long. If you've got 1,000 people with you, maybe you could force the company to change it from 5 to 6 if there were enough of you that said, we will not work, we demand $6, or we will not work. By yourself, not a good philosophy. Together with others, it could work. Right? Here's what we call this, the philosophy of demand. I demand more money. Alone, too risky. Together, maybe you could get some progress. So now we've covered 3 philosophies. Number 1, wait for the government. Number 2, wait for the company. Number 3, the philosophy of demand, which is a bit risky. Here's the problem with the philosophy of demand. You can't get rich. If people only understood, starting at the lower end of the economic scale, that you cannot get rich by demand. Okay. Now someone says, well, in America, how could you become wealthy? And the answer is to develop a new philosophy. And let me give you that. It might be the best I've got for the whole day. It's called the philosophy of performance. The philosophy of performance. I will perform so well, it would be embarrassing for the company not to pay me $6. Then I would perform so well, it would be embarrassing for the company not to pay me $8 an hour, $10 an hour, $20 an hour. So now we've got several philosophies going, and if you want to change your economic future, it starts with your personal philosophy. Okay. Now, here's what's interesting in America. I'm sure all of us can think of someone who makes $5 an hour getting started. Can anybody in the audience think of someone who makes $50 an hour? Do you happen to know anyone that makes $50 an hour? Anybody know somebody that makes about that much money? So jot this down now, because you've got to teach it to the children, because they're not teaching this in the ordinary schools. It's possible in America to multiply your income by 10. If you take nothing else home economically to pass on to your children or to someone else, just take that phrase home. Jim Rohn taught us it's possible in America to multiply your income by 10. It's possible. If kids knew it was possible, do you think they would ask, how can you do that? If they knew it was possible, wouldn't the next question would be, how could I do it? If it's possible, how can I do it? Now you just teach them how to do it. How to multiply your income by 10. Now jot this down. A good economic question. Once you've multiplied your income by 10, is it possible to multiply it by 10 again? Not only to multiply it by 10, but to multiply your income by 10 again. Do you know anybody that makes $500 an hour? Can you think of someone? Makes $500 an hour? Right. My Beverly Hills lawyer makes more than $500 an hour. So jot this down. It's not only possible in America to multiply your income by 10, it's possible to multiply it by 10 again. Do you think kids would be excited to hear this philosophy? I'm sure they would. How can you multiply your income by 10 and then multiply it by 10 again? Now, if you multiplied it by 10 and then multiplied it again by 10, would it be possible? Would it be possible to multiply it by 10 again? Can you think of anybody that makes $5,000 an hour? What do you think I get paid? I mean, this is such exciting stuff. I'm a kid from the farms of Idaho. I was 25 years old before I learned that you could multiply your income by 10 and then multiply it by 10 again and then multiply it by 10 again. This is mind-boggling stuff. $5,000 an hour. Now, would it be possible? Would it be possible to multiply it by 10 again? $50,000 an hour. Now, here's a good expression to use, especially for this group. You're all tuned in, especially the last couple of days. The best expression is, of course. Could you multiply your income by 10? Of course. Could you do it again? Of course. Could you do it again? Could you do it one more time? $50,000 an hour. You know, I've lectured with General Schwarzkopf and Colin Powell. I had lunch once with Colin Powell a few years ago. Schwarzkopf gets about $65,000 for a 1-hour speech. $65,000. So how could you finally get to $50,000 an hour? Answer: become a general in the Army. Yes. And lead the troops in the Gulf War. But what I'm trying to say is the possibilities here, let's just say, are just unlimited. You can multiply your income by 10, then you can multiply it by 10 again, and you can multiply it by 10 again. Now, we're only talking economic values. There's all kinds of other values in terms of personal development, but this is it. Now, to climb this ladder, here's the possibilities. 63 million last year, one person earned. The possibilities, we would have to say, in our country, is what we call unlimited. Now, to climb this ladder as high as you wish to climb it. Jot this phrase down now, because I don't think I'll talk about anything more valuable than what I'm about to share with you. Here it is. To climb this ladder economically as high as you wish to climb it, here's all you have to do. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I understood that philosophy, it totally changed my life. I made my first fortune by age 32, starting at age 25. And I've made and lost a few fortunes since then. That one simple philosophy, that it's possible to multiply your income by 10, and then by 10, and then by 10, by 10. And here's the simple way to do it. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Here's how it was put to me. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living, which is fantastic. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune, which is super fantastic. At age 25, I went to work on myself. The difference in my economic future was so startling, even in the early years, that I never went back to the old ways. I never went back to the old philosophy. I never went back to the old disciplines. I accepted the new ones, and it changed my life forever. Unbelievable. Here it is in philosophical terms. Just jot this phrase down. This is a good one. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become, by becoming an attractive person. Now, what could you think of that would start to make you more attractive to the marketplace? This is such simple ABC stuff. Okay? Let me give it to you. Let me start with this. Jim Rohn's view of the 21st century. We've begun a new century, 21. We've begun a new millennium, number 7. Some scholars hold great significance to this 7th millennium. And I think it's probably true. It's going to be the most extraordinary time in the history of the human race, I think. And these opening years now of the new millennium and the new century, how could you take advantage of this extraordinary time in human history and make for yourself an extraordinary life? Because it's all possible. So jot this little quote down now. It's one of the best I've come up with, I think, lately. And I'll just quote it slowly so you can jot it down and take it home. Here it is. From testimonials and from personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible to design and build and live an extraordinary life. From testimonials and from personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible to design and build and live an extraordinary life. I'd like to have you think about that, not just here, but even after you've gone back home. Think about it at least often enough to say, I think that's true. From testimonials and from personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible, it's not a guarantee, but it's possible to design and build and live an extraordinary life. Now, if you believe that and accept it, you just simply use that as a foundation, as the fundamentals. So now jot this down. Jim Rohn's view of the 21st century. Number one, unprecedented opportunity. Unprecedented opportunity. These are probably going to be the most extraordinary times in the history of the human race, 6,000 years of recorded history. We got through the last millennium. We especially got through the last century, a bloody century, the 20th century. Hopefully those major wars of devastation and destruction are behind us. World War II claimed 50 million lives. 19 million of them were Russian. The devastation of the 20th century was unparalleled and unprecedented. The savagery was unbelievable. The Holocaust was insanity of the most unbelievable kind. Hopefully that is in the century past. And that we have a new chance in a new century to build a new world and a new country and a new future. With all of the challenges. With Saddam Hussein, with the terrorists, and all the rest. Once the walls came down, about 12, 13 years ago, and I was just in Berlin the other day lecturing and had a chance to go to the Brandenburg Gate, Checkpoint Charlie, see part of the old Berlin Wall. Once those walls came down 13 years ago, the world now has forever changed. Because here's how the history of the human race reads. Opportunity mixed with difficulty. Sometimes more difficulty than opportunity. The history of the human race reads tyranny and liberty. Sometimes more tyranny than liberty. But now the world has totally changed. Since communism is on the run, the dictators, most of them are all gone. When I used to lecture years ago in South America, every country had a dictator. Now they're all gone. Castro and a few are left, but that's it. And they will soon all be gone. Within a short little period of the rest of our lifetime, all the dictators will be gone. A new wave of economic uniqueness, capitalism, free enterprise, liberty, freedom, democracy is absolutely sweeping the world. So for a long, dark time, there was more tyranny than liberty. Here's what is unique about this new Century 21. More liberty than tyranny. More freedom than oppression. This is an unprecedented time. Unbelievable opportunity. We have the technology to accomplish the most incredible things. We pick up a telephone now and talk to somebody on the other side of the world with ease. It's incredible. We fly, we've got transportation. I get on an airplane, 13 hours later I'm in Hong Kong. 5 meals, 3 movies, and you're there. I mean, it's unbelievable. I leave at 7:30 this evening to fly all night to Orlando to speak to another group tomorrow in Orlando. It's amazing. With the jets, you can cover the world. I fly the Concorde, 3 hours London, New York. If you fly the Concorde, you can see 2 sunsets in one day. If you're in London when the sun goes down, you fly the Concorde to New York, you watch the sun go down for the second time. I told the group at our little breakfast meeting this morning, if you fly the Concorde due west, the sun comes up in the west. If you haven't tried that, you must try it. On the Concorde, you meet unique people. I met Henry Kissinger on the Concorde. Henry said, I had breakfast in Paris, I'm having lunch here in London, I'm having dinner tonight in New York. If you fly the Concorde. Before his accident, I met Christopher Reeves a couple of times on the Concorde. Said to my business partner, we're going to be okay, Superman's on this plane. This is unprecedented opportunity now, the 21st century and the beginning of the 7th millennium. These are extraordinary times. Now here's number 2. However, keen competition. World competition. We're dealing now with Iraq. A big part of it is competition. Hopefully the nations of the world will settle a big share of their differences so we can develop unique economic, social, personal prosperity for the future with limited conflicts. No more horrors, no more holocausts, hopefully. But with the human race, you always have to keep your fingers crossed. Who knows? But I think it's going to be a time of unprecedented opportunity, but unique competition. Now, to take advantage of the 21st century and this opening of the new millennium, how could you use the opportunity? Mind. Now that you've arrived, told me your story, I'm beginning to see the light. Words. The old prophet said this, words are like a lamp for your feet, so you can see where to walk. And words are like a light for your pathway, so you can see where to go. With words, you can show somebody where to step and where to go. Wow. I said a little prayer before I left my hotel room this morning and asked God to give me a little stronger gift of words today so that my words might have meaning. Maybe I've caught you at just the right time. Maybe this is the moment for you. And if I can say something uniquely enough, using the English language best as I can, words are sometimes clumsy when you try to express what's going on in your head, let alone your heart. But if I can do as good a job as I possibly can in the session we've got this morning and then again this afternoon, by the time I'm finished, maybe my words will help turn on another light for you. And you'll be able to see the possibilities better than you've ever seen it before. You'll be able to see yourself more successful than you've ever envisioned it before. If I can wisely say good words. Now I've put communication in 3 parts because all 3 of these parts now help me make more fortunes. Here's the first one. It's called training. Training is simply showing somebody how to do the business, how to do the job. If you get good at that, the pay is incredible. Whether it's your own enterprise or whether you work for someone else. Training pays big money. Here's the next one, teaching. And I've divided the 2 just to make the point. Teaching is more teaching life skills. Life skills. Teach somebody how to set goals. Gary mentioned, right, making the list and checking them off. Today he gets to check one off. Jim Rohn arrives in San Jose, Santa Clara. I'm so excited about that. Teaching leadership. teaching management, teaching how to become powerful, gifted, influential, teaching father skills, mother skills. I've now, the last 15 years, learned grandfather skills. I set a goal when I became a grandfather to be one of the best grandfathers any grandchildren ever had in the whole wide world. I practice it. I think about it. How to use my newfound life as a grandfather and learn every skill possible to dazzle my grandchildren. I'm one of the best. So teach people how to be good fathers, good grandfathers, good mothers, good leaders in the community. Teach a minister how to teach. Teach a minister how to use the gift of language to persuade. Okay. So communication is part of its training, part of its teaching. Here's the best part. No, here's number 3 in the gift of language, and that's learning how to inspire. Inspire simply means a few simple things. Here's number 1. Help people to see themselves better than they are. Yes, sometimes we have to help people see themselves as they are. If they've made mistakes, maybe that needs to be pointed out. If a child has messed up, sometimes you've got to say, you've messed up. But don't leave them in the mess. Now transport them into the future with the gift of your language and inspire them with the person they can become by using the mistakes of the past to develop new disciplines for the future. A teacher I met when I was 25 years old had this unusual gift. He said, Mr. Rohn, if you keep learning as you're learning now, one of these days you'll walk into a room full of people and you'll hear someone say, there's the man. That's the man. That's the famous man. I thought, well, that could never happen for me. Sure enough, it did. He said, it will happen. And I think when I walked in here this morning, I heard someone say, that's him. That's the man. That's the famous man. You must transport your children into the future. Yes, you have to take them back to review their mistakes, but don't leave them there. Now transport them into tomorrow. Transport your children into next week. Help them to see themselves 30 days from now, 90 days from now, 6 months from now. Help them to see themselves successful. It's your gift of language that can do that. Help them to have faith for themselves and faith for the future. The sacred writing says this: faith comes by hearing words, good words. Somebody who well chooses their words and delivers them with uniqueness can inspire faith for somebody to believe the most impossible things can be possible. And that excitement of possibilities comes from hearing or reading unique words. One of the best phrases I could give you for the day, here it is: don't be lazy in language. Don't be lazy in language, because the gift of language can create a career. It can help somebody see the way into the future. It can help somebody change from who they are to who they would like to be. It will help you to see the gift of your own intellect. There's an innate vocabulary in all of us that helps us to see, helps us to translate what's going on in the world, what's happening, so that we can make good decisions instead of poor ones. We can make less mistakes this year than we made last year. One of the major things to pray for is to be gifted in language, because it can have such a dynamic effect on your children. It can have such a dynamic effect on your business. It can have such a dynamic effect on your customers. It can have such a dynamic effect on your business partners, that not to continually get better and better at the gift of language would be a great mistake. Let it open doors nothing else will open, the gift of your language. Let it help people to see possibilities that they cannot see now. And you join in those possibilities and make another fortune and another fortune. all the way up the ladder as far as you wish to go. I don't know how high you need to go. What were the instructions given to the first couple after the garden experience, Adam and Eve, according to the storyteller? We've got some Bible scholars here right now. Instructions given to Adam and Eve after the garden experience. Here they are. Number 1, multiply. It's a lonely place with just 2 people. Multiply. But here's one now that is so extraordinary, and I'm going to cover a little bit more of it during our ongoing session here today. Here was the second one. Be fruitful. Be fruitful. Kind of an interesting phrase. When I lecture in other countries, sometimes it's difficult to find the right translation for be fruitful. Here's what I think fruitful means. Be productive. The example might be a tree, a fruit tree. Plant a fruit tree. Now, why do that? It's very simple. Teach it to your children. Number 1, to survive. The first instinct is to survive. So be productive enough to survive. Be productive enough for your own survival. But is that the end of it? And the answer is no, that's only the beginning of it. To produce enough for yourself is only the beginning. What's the rest? Here's number 2. Get married. Now you've got to think of ways to produce more than you need for yourself. And guess what that does? It elevates you to a higher life. If you want to live this higher life of a companion, a wife, getting married, see, that now changes the dynamics of your future. It's called stepping up to a better life. And to step up to a better life, here's what you simply do economically. You learn to provide and figure out a way to provide more than you need for yourself. You think of ways to provide enough for yourself and for someone else. Why think of someone else? Why not just think of yourself? Because that's a very limited way to live, just thinking of your own survival. If you want to live a more flourishing, unique life, you must think now of someone else. So now the man says, I must produce enough for myself and for my wife. Is that the end of the life experience? No.